On February 18th, 2019, in Archer, Florida, 23-year-old Jasmine Robinson completed her evening shift at McDonald's. Like most days, her grandmother picked her up afterward. Jasmine was 7 months pregnant at the time and didn't have a car, so her grandmother, whom she lived with, regularly assisted her with transportation. That evening, however, something was clearly off. Jasmine appeared upset, visibly angry, and emotionally shaken. Although her demeanor had changed, she didn't explain to her grandmother what had caused her distress. Once they got home, Jasmine had a short conversation with her aunt, then told her she was heading to bed. Later that night, her grandmother left the house to attend Bible study, leaving Jasmine alone. Jasmine was preparing for a prenatal appointment scheduled for the following day, and her aunt was supposed to come pick her up for it. At approximately 8 p.m., Jasmine sent a message to her aunt saying she was tired and planned to go to bed early. However, on the morning of February 19th, when her aunt arrived to take her to the prenatal appointment, Jasmine was nowhere to be found. Her phone was off and unreachable, which was extremely unusual for her and immediately raised concern. The family tried contacting her multiple times, but all attempts to reach her failed. As the hours passed with no response or sign of Jasmine, their concern grew. By February 20th, a full day after she had last been heard from, Jasmine's family officially reported her missing. They were adamant that something was terribly wrong. Jasmine wouldn't have just disappeared, especially while being heavily pregnant and relying so much on her family during that time. Once law enforcement began investigating her disappearance, there were no clear leads. Nothing at the home suggested foul play, and no one could identify a definitive direction she may have gone. During the course of the investigation, Jasmine's sister revealed that Jasmine had been experiencing trouble in her relationship. The man who got her pregnant had not taken the news well and had allegedly pressured her to terminate the pregnancy. According to the family, the relationship had become tense and emotionally difficult in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Now, 5 years later, Jasmine Robinson remains missing, and no trace of her or her unborn daughter has ever been found. What really happened to Jasmine and her baby? Where did they go that night, and why? This is the haunting mystery of Jasmine Robinson's disappearance. Jasmine Nikesha Robinson was born on February 6, 1996, in Archer, Florida. She had an older sister named Shantavia Robinson. Raised by her grandmother Rosa Robinson from a young age, Jasmine was known for being vibrant and joyful. She was active in church, singing in the choir, and loved sports. In school, particularly at Williston Middle School, she was on the basketball team, where her teammates fondly nicknamed her Beezy. At home, Jasmine was known as a kind and well-mannered girl who loved her family deeply. She enjoyed spending time with friends and never caused any trouble. By 2018, Jasmine was 22 years old and had entered into a romantic relationship. That same year, she learned that she was pregnant. She continued living with her grandmother while preparing for the arrival of her baby. On September 13, 2018, Jasmine attended a football game at the University of Florida in Gainesville, about 15 miles from her hometown. While there, she took a phone left on a seat by a student. The phone case also contained the student's ID and credit card. Once the student realized her phone was gone, she quickly blocked access to her accounts and reported it stolen. Meanwhile, Jasmine attempted to use the stolen phone to transfer money to herself, making several attempts totaling approximately $1,624. Authorities were able to track the iPhone using the Find My iPhone feature, tracing it to Jasmine's residence. When police arrived and questioned Jasmine, she initially denied any knowledge of the phone. However, they did not believe her and arrested her. She was charged with grand theft, larceny, and credit card fraud. On November 8, 2018, Jasmine was released on bond and pleaded not guilty to the charges. Despite her plea, she felt remorse for her actions and wanted to make amends. Her next court appearance was scheduled for February 28, 2019, and she intended to change her plea to guilty. At the start of 2019, Jasmine had secured a job at McDonald's and was preparing for motherhood. She had discovered she was expecting a baby girl, whom she planned to name Jamelia. Jasmine celebrated her 23rd birthday on February 6 with her family. By February 18, 2019, she was well into her third trimester. Since she no longer had a car, her grandmother or aunt often drove her to and from work. That evening, after finishing her shift, her grandmother picked her up. Jasmine seemed unusually upset, angry, and visibly shaken, though she didn't share what had caused her distress. Once home, she briefly spoke to her aunt before saying she was going to bed. Her grandmother left the house that night to attend Bible study, leaving Jasmine, 7 months pregnant, alone. She had a prenatal appointment scheduled the next day, and her aunt had planned to pick her up for it. At around 8 p.m., Jasmine texted her aunt, saying she was tired and heading to bed. The next morning, February 19th, her aunt arrived at the house to take her to the appointment. But Jasmine was nowhere to be found. This was immediately concerning. Jasmine had no car and had been expecting her aunt. Her phone went unanswered, which was completely out of character. Her family continued calling and checking in, but she remained unreachable. After an entire day passed with no word, Jasmine was officially reported missing on February 20th. Her family knew something was wrong. Jasmine would never disappear voluntarily, especially while heavily pregnant and depending on her loved ones. Initially, authorities didn't treat her disappearance as suspicious. Due to her legal troubles and upcoming court hearing, police suspected she might be hiding to avoid the charges. However, her family disagreed, believing Jasmine was ready to take responsibility and had no reason to run. On February 27th, Jasmine's aunt Bertha appeared on a local news segment. She stressed that Jasmine had been paying her fines, meeting with her probation officer, and preparing to plead guilty. She insisted that the court case had nothing to do with Jasmine's disappearance. Jasmine's advanced pregnancy only heightened her family's fear. Police eventually upgraded her case to endangered missing person following the news coverage. Investigators began digging deeper into her personal life. Jasmine had shared with her sister that the man she believed to be her baby's father, a man whose name was never publicly disclosed, had been harassing her. She'd been receiving unwanted and upsetting calls and voicemails from him. He even contacted her sister and began calling her workplace, which deeply disturbed her. Although Jasmine's family believed this man was linked to her disappearance, police never identified him as a suspect or person of interest. Rumors circulated that he was married at the time of Jasmine's pregnancy and that he had pressured her to terminate it. Her sister was convinced he was involved and might have had help. Police searched Jasmine's home, but found no signs of a struggle. All her personal belongings, including her phone and wallet, were still inside, suggesting she hadn't planned to leave. Investigators stated that it appeared she left with someone she trusted. They interviewed people close to Jasmine, subpoenaed her bank and phone records, and followed various leads. Yet, weeks went by with no major developments. Her phone remained off, and her social media activity ceased completely, which was unusual for someone who regularly messaged with friends and family online. As the weeks turned into months, the search intensified. Police released a video appeal and held a live Facebook Q&A to encourage public tips. But whatever information they had, they kept private, and speculation grew. Jasmine's family continued to search tirelessly. In April 2019, Crime Stoppers and the Florida Sheriff's Association offered an $8,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. Still, no credible leads emerged. By November 2019, 9 months had passed. CBS 4 interviewed Jasmine's grandmother, who expressed heartbreak and frustration. She said her health had suffered from the stress and uncertainty. She pleaded for answers and justice. The Alachua County Sheriff's Office stated that the case was still active and on detectives' radar daily. They were still conducting searches and chasing leads, but without help from the public, the case remained unsolved. By February 2020, the 1-year anniversary of Jasmine's disappearance passed without answers. Her sister again spoke publicly, expressing her grief and desire for both Jasmine and her unborn niece to be found. Police had conducted extensive searches of nearby wooded areas and waterways, and continued monitoring Jasmine's digital and financial activity. But nothing revealed her whereabouts. In 2021, on the second anniversary, the Sheriff's Office increased the reward to $10,000, hoping to spark new leads. Yet, Jasmine's case remained cold. Now, more than 5 years later, Jasmine Robinson still hasn't been found. Authorities believe she left her home with someone that night, but how they know, this hasn't been disclosed. Despite all efforts, no suspects have been named and no arrests have been made. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Jasmine Robinson, please contact the Alachua County Sheriff's Office.